Welcome back to Copper Star Precision, the channel dedicated to getting you more points at your competitive shooting matches. Well, it's a new month, happy November, which means we very shortly will have the November course of fire for the NRL22. This video is all about strategy, tips, and tricks to help you score more points at your matches. Interesting addition today to our dry fire targets, which are available on Patreon. Thanks, Dave, for the idea. But I'll start including a QR code. If you're someone who uses the Applied Ballistics app, AB Quantum, you'll be able to scan that QR code and it will download the entire course of fire for option 1, all the targets, all the distances, so you already have range cards built for the match. So that's going to be included on the bottom of every dry fire target going forward. I will probably make videos about AB Quantum in the future. It's quickly becoming one of my favorite ballistics calculators. But with that said, we've got 5 stages to cover here, and yeah, so as far as the course of fire goes, a lot of stuff we've seen before, pretty straightforward. There are a couple things that will trip you up, so let's go over those. Starting with stage 1, C is for cookie. We have option 1 and option 2, and we have a tank trap. So let's go over what option 1 says. Targets and distances will be put down here, and the tank trap is set up with the rear arm facing backwards. And the stage description is as follows. On the start signal, engage the targets as listed below. From any tank trap tip, you must move after each sequence. Tips may be repeated. So we're going to go C, and then ABC, C again, EDC, C again, AEC. So again, this is one of those ones where if you have difficulty with target order, having a good dope card is definitely going to help, but let's try and simplify the stage, right? So it says any tips, and tips may be repeated. So let's just simplify the stage by picking our 2 favorite tips. And we're always going to return to 1 tip on the odd number sequences, because we're always going to be engaging 1 shot at target C. So I'm probably going to pick this one back here. That'll just be my home base. So we'll call the center C, where we're shooting the 1 C target, and then we'll just move over, transition probably here to the left, and do the strings of 3. So that's one way to simplify it. Another way to simplify it is if we look at the targets, we're engaging the target C 6 times. So in a 12-round stage, 50% of the targets are C, which means I'm probably going to dial for target C. And that's going to create a situation where on targets D and E, I'm going to have holdovers, and on targets A and B, I'm going to have hold unders. And the way it works out for my dope, essentially, if you plug in your dope ahead of the match, you look at the target sizes, you can kind of get an idea, visual representation of what your aim point might be on target. And for me, it also helps to simplify the stage by looking at, can I just use the top of the target as my aiming point instead of trying to hold somewhere in the reticle. So for me, if C is dead on, then target D is top of the target, target B is bottom of the target, and then for target E, the far one, I'm holding over 1 mil, and for target A, I'm holding under 1 mil at the top of the target. So I'm trying to use whole mil hash marks instead of trying to guess 2/10, 4/10, 6/10, anything like that. Obviously do what works for you, but this is one of those stages where if you think about it ahead of time, and if you want to do the hold under strategy, definitely you can kind of simplify the stage, at least in my mind. If it doesn't work for you and you just want to dial for the nearest target and hold over everything, and that works for you, and the way your brain works, I would do that. But because, again, we are engaging target C 6 times, it's 50% of the score of this stage, I would advocate dialing for that. It's the most engaged target. So, with all that being said, let's see how this looks like in person. As far as gear goes, a couple different ways we can go about it. This may be, it's easy enough a stage and a prop we're familiar with. Time and time again, you just can run 1 bag. If you want to run 2 bags, you may just be able to, and if you're only going to use 2 tips, you can just put a bag on each tip, leave it there, just move the rifle. I'm going to try it with an attached bag just to make the movement easier, but again, a 2-bag strategy, just leaving a bag on each tip you want to engage. It's one less thing you have to manage after the first transition back and forth. Can save you some time, again, we're trying to simplify the stage as much as possible so we can focus on getting in position and making our impacts. But with all that said, let's fire up the trigger cam and see what this looks like. All right, standing all gear in hand. Stage 1, C is our first target, 1 shot, 2 minutes on the timer. Let's go. Timer goes beep. Gonna get right down in position on the center tip. We need to adjust parallax. All right. 1 shot, target C. Moving positions. Now we're going A, B, C. So for me, I'm gonna hold under for A. Right there, it's about 8 tenths. Bottom of the target for B. Straight up for C. All right, moving again. Always keeping the rifle pointed downrange. Especially when we're moving backwards, it's important not to flag the rest of the firing line. Straight up for C, back to the same tip. Now we're going 5-4-3 EDC. So for me, it's holding 1 mil at the far target. And it's gonna be top of the target for D. And straight up for C. 1, 2, 3, easy. Keep that rifle downrange. I'm gonna find target C again. Straight up. Last sequence, near far middle. A, E, C. Keeping my legs spread and sort of locked out, leaning into the rifle. Target A, we said hold under. E is hold over, 1 mil. And straight up for target C. Just like that. That wasn't too bad. It was like a 106 on the clock as I was talking through that. So as you can see, not a terribly difficult stage. What is going to trip people up will be the target order. But again, when it comes to stages like these where you have complicated shot orders, that kind of stuff, and they give you a bunch of options, we're trying to pare down those options, make them more simple. So how did we do that? I dialed for the middle target because 6 targets are that middle target, and I only limited myself to 2 tips. So I'm just simplifying the movement, simplifying the stage, trying not to overcomplicate things. I'm not running circles around the tank trap, just stick to 2 tips, efficient movement, efficient dialing of the scope, using holdovers and hold unders, and just being straight up for that middle target, again, that we engage for half the points in this stage. Let me know what you're gonna do down in the comments, and then we're gonna jump into stage 2. Welcome back. Stage 2 is called Ladder. I hardly know her. So what's interesting about this stage is it's very, very similar to the ladder stage in the October course of fire. We're going off a ladder, we're shooting at a KYL rack. There's a couple things that make it easier and a couple things that make it more difficult than last month's stage. So why is it more difficult? Well, we have the KYL rack split, 2 different distances. So 2 targets at 35, 2 targets at 50. But it's easier because we don't have a prone position like we did last month, so we don't have to run the bipod whatsoever. And they're also giving us the use of a tripod for rear support if we want, and I highly encourage you to take advantage of it. So if you participated in the October NRL22 course of fire and you had success with the ladder stage and you have a strategy that you like, by all means go for it. It's very similar. The stage description is as follows. On the start signal, take a position on the ladder rung. Engage the KYL rack with 1 shot each, large to small. Then transition to a different rung. Engage the near KYL rack with 1 shot, large to small. Continue this sequence, engaging the far KYL and then the near KYL, moving to a different rung after every 2 shots. Rungs may be repeated. So again, it's going to be 2 shots. We're not double tapping this time. We're actually going large than small. 2 shots, 5 positions, 10 points possible. And yeah, rear support with the tripod. Again, if you participated in the October course of fire, you have a strategy that works. You know which rungs you want to use. If you want to go 4, 3, 2, 1, work with gravity. If you want to bounce back and forth between 2 rungs, you know, if you have something that works, stick with it. What's going to work best is what you practice, and if you had success, like I said last month, stick with that. That being said, I usually try and give multiple ways to do a stage, but because we already covered a lot of those strategies in the previous month's course of fire, which will definitely still be applicable here, I'm just going to give you the one strategy that I'm going to use and I think is probably the best way to go, because tripod rear is really, it's just stupid stable. So if you ever afforded the option to use tripod rear, you know, use it. If you haven't practiced with it, you should be practicing with it, because we can get rock steady on this prop. So much like last month, I'm going to alternate between two rungs. I'm basically going to alternate between rungs 3 and 2. And the reason for that is because I can access both of these from a kneeling position. So I'm going to go from a low kneel, to a high kneel, low kneel, high kneel, low kneel. When it comes to the tripod leg, if I position myself correctly and I put the front of the rifle on the right side, I'm going to line up with this as rear support. And if I put my rifle on rung 2 on the low side as a right-handed shooter, I'm going to end up with this as support. Again, for those of you who aren't familiar with using tripod as rear support, something definitely you should practice. We're seeing it more and more in matches. Give yourself a thumbs up. You're going to grab the leg of the tripod like this, and the rifle buttstock is going to sit in here. Sometimes I even bring a glove. It just makes things a little bit easier to grip onto and gives you a little extra padding just as a cushion on the buttstock of the rifle like this. Basically, the idea is we're going to set this tripod up, and we shouldn't have to move it. We're just going to move laterally this way, which part of the rung we're engaging, so that our buttstock lines up with this angle of the tripod. So if you're a right-handed shooter, this leg is going to be, the tripod will be on your right. The leg will be going from high right to low left. And when you transition this way, it's going to be the mirror of that if you're a left-handed shooter. All that to say, tripod rear is stupid stable, and that's what we're going to run. So what this might look like in practice, once I get this bag off my rifle here. As far as other gear, I'm running that Armageddon gear flat bag with the Gray Ops plate, and that just gives a super nice position, super flat. Again, we're looking for that, trying to maximize that distance between front and rear support instead of trying to keep them close together. So if you keep the points of contact far apart, any little movement is going to resolve in less deflection downrange. Whereas if you had a pivot point that was very close together, 2 points of contact, any little movement is going to translate to large swings downrange. So, what would this look like in practice? Start the trigger cam. I'm going to start all gear in hand. All gear in hand. Okay, tripod goes down. I'm going to eyeball where it needs to go. We'll get everything set up on that first position here. I'm trying to line up this leg of the tripod with the buttstock, give myself a thumbs up, wrap this around, and little micro adjustments. We're going to find the target, and we're going far target first, large, then small. Easy peasy. Now, if I transition, I'm looking at the angle of this leg. I'm going to move the rifle up, and we're just going to slide it laterally until it comes into contact with the tripod. Now we're on those near targets. Yellow, there we go. Near target. You can see I'm also using my right knee as even additional rear support. Like I said, stupid stable. Drop it back down. Find the target. Large than small. It's about a 1/10 difference in elevation between the two ranges. So you shouldn't have to adjust anything. Maybe just hold fraction high on the far target. Large, small. Last set of 2. Should have plenty of time on the clock. Just got to find the targets. Large, small. So, stupid stable with that tripod rear support. I highly suggest you doing it that way. But again, I'm not going to tell you what to do if you have a strategy that works, especially if you shot last month's course of fire. If you have something that works for you, just stick with it. Other than that, relative straightforward stage, and then we're gonna just jump into stage 3. All right, stage 3 is called Black Friday Bolt Run. We have 2 targets, about 10 yards apart, but they're the same distance. So we're gonna dial our elevation in our scope, we're gonna set parallax, and we're gonna forget it. So that's the easy part of the stage. This is the time stage. So if you're someone who goes for speed, if you watch the last match footage, the top 3 competitors all dropped 3 points. It came down to tiebreakers. So more and more at the very, very top of the leaderboards, you're seeing the time stage make a significant difference in your placement at the match, if that's something that appeals to you. So we're going to talk about what tips and tricks and techniques you might use to go fast on this stage. But again, remember, no amount of speed and bonus points is going to make up for a missed shot. So we definitely have to hit our shots. Stage description is as follows. On the start signal, take a position on the left barrel. Engage the right target with 2 shots. Transition to the right barrel. Engage the left target with 2 shots. Continue this for 12 shots, basically moving every 2 shots. So from the left, we engage the right. From the right, we engage the left. It's just a little X pattern. Relatively straightforward course of fire for this stage. And it just kind of depends on what you want to go for, what you're most stable with. If you're going for speed, you want fast transitions, fast target acquisition, all that good stuff. And you want to be able to, again, transition between the props very easily. So, you know, if you're super stable in a kneeling position at the barrel with a bag, you know, if that's what's going to get you the most highest hit probability, by all means go with that, you know. But as you notice, when I'm in a kneeling position here, you know, I have to get out of a kneeling position, move the rifle, move the bag, and if I'm going to get back into a kneeling position over here, that's taking a significant amount of time in terms of time between transitions. So if you can, and you want to use a 1-bag solution, we're going to try and engage this standing. We're going to take our 2 shots here. We're going to lift the rifle, lift the bag, and we're just going to shimmy over, right? And if you noticed, I'm trying to limit the distance between the barricades. So I'm going to be on the right edge here and the left edge here. So I'm limiting the gap of how far I need to traverse. They should be around 6 feet apart, right? Yeah, so this is a little closer than that, but you get the idea. It should be like 1 or 2 big steps, crab walk over, keep the rifle point down range, get into position that way. So if you're someone with a bag, that might be what you want to do. Again, if you're in a kneeling position, it's going to be harder to get in and out of that kneeling position. It's going to cost you time on the clock. If anyone has seen this channel before, then you know I'm a 2 points of contact guy. So for me, it's going to be bipod and bag. So this is going to be the easiest for me. If you are a 1-bag person, you might actually also want to consider using an attached bag, so you don't have to actually fiddle with 2 pieces of gear. You're moving the rifle and bag as one. So for me, I'm a 2 points of contact kind of guy. I get way more stable. I have an increased hit probability when I get something like this set up. So that's how I'm going to run it. We'll try and do it fast, but this is one of those stages where, you know, a lot of the top times they'll be quick, but there's not a good way to go super duper fast. You still have to get 12 shots off, right? Yeah, around kind of 12. So 12 shots in 2 minutes. You'll see times, you know, in the 90 seconds, maybe 100 seconds. Will be pretty competitive, I believe. But again, try and get those shots off and make good impacts. So let's get the trigger cam started. Let's figure out what we're gonna do here. And see what this looks like in practice. Starting standing, all gear in hand. I'm going to start close to the left barrel because that's where I am going to start. And timer goes beep, go. Go bag down, rifle down. I'm going to find that right target. We should be dialed in parallaxed. These are pretty generous targets, so we're going to try and not take too much time. I'm going to grab the rifle, grab the bag, try and move everything as one. Dig those Accutac clawed bipod feet into the barrel for extra stability. Using my forearms and elbows on the barrel to stable the barrel. That's 2 shots there. Grab the rifle, grab the bag down. Get those feet settled. Left barrel back to the right target. 1 shot, 2 shots. So we're 6 shots in. Grab the rifle, grab the bag. Rinse and repeat. Dig those claws in. Left target, rifle, bag, everything is pointed downrange, safety first. Dig the claws in, left barrel, right target. A little wobbly there, taking my time to readjust the bag. Right target. Should be the last set of 2, I believe. From the right barrel, left target. Last 2 shots. Find the target. was that 90, 91 seconds-ish? So like I said, you know, you still have to get 12 shots off. I felt like I was moving at a good pace. Not too crazy. Definitely manageable. I had one where the bag over here wasn't quite making enough contact with the buttstock, so I shuffled things just to make sure I got that nice contact with that rear support. Bipod in the front, making, you know, kind of watching the feet dig into this lip. I know some people turn the barrels upside down. On the other side of the barrels, there is still like a little bit of a lip. And again, with those spiked feet, you can just kind of poke them into the barrel. Works really well. Rubber feet work pretty well as well. Just if you're going to put a lot of forward pressure on the rifle, they may have the tendency to slip. So you have to maintain positive control of your rifle. So be careful with that. But other than that, very straightforward stage. If you want to go fast, I recommend bipod and rear bag if you are comfortable with that. Or if you're going to do the one bag solution, remember we're going to get into position in a stand if we can, not a kneel, because getting in and out of that kneeling position is going to cost you precious time on the clock and completely kill the time it takes to transition between the props. With all that said, we'll reset here and get ready for stage 4. Welcome back. This is stage 4, November NRL22 course of fire. It is called Gravy Train of Pain. Now, there is a lot of options on this stage. This is one where I definitely want to go in beforehand with a game plan. Hopefully you know in advance whether or not your club is prone to doing option 1 or option 2. Here we have an option 2A and a 2B. So let's just go over the stage description as follows. So there's a restriction on the stage. Only standing positions may be used on the pyramid. And it says on the start signal, engage the far target with 2 shots, then the near target with 2 shots. Positions are standing at the pyramid and prone. You may choose which position to start with, but after every second shot, you must move to the other position. Positions on the pyramid may be repeated. So we have 2 targets, a near and a far. Option 2A gets a little bit spicy, so same targets and distance with a par time of 105 seconds. Option 2B gets muy caliente with same targets and distance, but 1 shot per position. So 1 shot from the pyramid, 1 shot prone, with a par time of 120 seconds. So you're basically going to be doing burpees, 12 shots, 12 positions. That's going to be a doozy. Again, we can only do standing positions, so that's going to limit our choices. It's going to help simplify the stage, but it's something you want to think about ahead of time. For most people, standing is going to be rung 4. If you don't have a pyramid built and you don't have anything to practice off of, if you have a 6-foot ladder, the rungs of the ladder almost 1-to-1 correspond to the rungs of the pyramid. So get yourself your ladder. Rung 4 is pretty close to rung 4, almost exactly the height here. If you're a youth shooter, you might be able to stand on rung 3. If you're super tall, rung 5. However, I have always found that the higher you go, higher your center of gravity, less stable you are. So I think for the majority of shooters, it's going to be standing from rung 4. And then prone is going to be prone. Obviously, I'm not going to be going inside the pyramid because we have to transition to prone. I want to leave my bipod deployed, so that's all ready to go. So I'm going to be basically picking a side of the pyramid that I'm comfortable with. Here I'm picking the right side of the pyramid. I'm just going to transition to the right side of the pyramid for the prone position, just go back and forth. And instead of like the ladder where you have to slide your rifle in and out, we're just going to slide the rifle in from the side so that we can leave the bipod deployed, that it's not going to interfere with anything. So as you start to simplify the stage, it gets a little bit easier. The next thing you want to think about is which target you want to engage first. So in terms of relative target sizes, the targets are almost the same size in terms of width. So one's like 0.6 of a mil wide, one's 0.7 of a mil wide. Again, it's kind of, you might have to make a game time decision during the day. If there's high winds and the targets are roughly the same size, you may want to use the prone position for the far target, right? If there's more wind, that flight time is going to be longer to the farther target. It's going to be more influenced by the wind. Therefore, it may be better that you have nice, super steady prone position shots at the far target, so that, you know, if you do make a bad wind call and you want to correct off of it, you know that you're super stable and you're not wobbling off the prop that's causing your shots to miss the target. So that's probably what I'm going to do. So we're going to start with the far target 2 shots, and again, we're going to engage that target. The far target's going to be engaged 6 times, the near target's going to be engaged 4 times. So even though that the closer target's relatively harder to hit because it's relatively smaller, It's a shorter distance, it's gonna be less impacted by the wind. And a 1.5 at 68 is not a gimme, but it's also not terrible. So that's what I'm gonna do, but again, you're gonna have to make a game time decision kind of on the day. Do you wanna start prone, or do you wanna start on the pyramid, right? So we can choose where we start also. I think the logical choice is to start prone, because we're gonna take whatever you start on, prone or the pyramid, you're gonna be taking 6 shots from that position. If you're someone that has trouble getting in and out of positions, you may wanna start standing, right? That's one less transition to the ground that you have to do, so you might wanna start on the pyramid. So all of these things are things you need to be thinking about in order to tailor your strategy to your abilities and to help you score more points. So that's what we're all about here. But for me, let's talk about what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start prone, and then I'm gonna transition to this. Whatever you start on is gonna be the far target, so remember that. So I'm gonna start prone, far target 2 shots, near target 2 shots from the pyramid, rinse and repeat. I am gonna bring 2 bags. You could easily go with an attached bag, but that makes the rifle much heavier, lifting it off the ground onto the pyramid. So what I'm gonna do is, because I'm only gonna use 2 positions, I'm gonna leave the rear bag here for prone positions, and I'm gonna bring a separate bag for this position. So I'm not managing an extra bag on the clock. Once I do my first round of transitions, I basically have the bag I want for that position already set up. So with all that said, let's see what this looks like in person. We'll get the trigger cam started here. So we're gonna start prone, basically drop that bag. When the stage starts, we're gonna put this bag up here, drop the bag, go prone, 2 shots far, transition, 2 shots near, rinse and repeat. So with all that said, here's kind of how it's gonna look. So we're gonna start all gear in hand. Timer goes beep. Drop my rear bag here. Grab this, rung 4 for me. I'm gonna spend a couple seconds getting that nice and stable so it's ready to go. And now both my bags are in position. I'm gonna get into a prone position, far target. 2 shots, really taking my time on these first 2 shots. What's my dope on this stage? 5 tenths and 9 tenths. This would be a 0.4 hold, which is the second hash mark. Right there, so 1 shot, 2 shots. My holdover, if I'm dialed for the near target, is 4 tenths. The target is 7 tenths wide, so you could actually just hold top of the target. Okay, enough talking, more shooting. I'm gonna be dialed for this target, so it's straight up. 2 shots there, transition back to prone. Basically, leaving my bag there, I know exactly what position the rifle needs to be in. All we have to do now, point it at the target, holding 4 tenths. Actually holding top of the target. 2 shots there. Back and forth we go. Sliding the rifle in from the right, because we had that bipod on there. Find the target, pushing into the prop. If you find you're not stable, try a little bit more shoulder pressure, a little bit less shoulder pressure. Obviously stop talking when you're shooting. Last 2 shots from the prone. Find the target, hold top of target, 1 shot, 2 shots. Ooh, that was the time. Might not have gotten that last shot off. As you can tell, I was talking through that, but I didn't have my dope written down. I had to look at my piece of paper, so that cost me some time. So these are things that this is why we practice. You know, we make mistakes like that. I know I need to know my dope before the stage, and yeah. So on a reasonable magnification of like 16, 20 power, targets are close enough that you should be able to parallax in between them without too much fuzziness. Again, you saw my strategy, starting prone on the far target so I get a good wind call, but I'm dialed for the first target because this is a little bit less stable of a position. So I feel more comfortable in the prone position on the far target making the holdover call because I'm rock steady, whereas the close target, I want it to be center crosshairs so that when that wobble zone goes into the target, I can just engage the target just like that. So I don't want to think about being wobbly and having to hold over at the same time. So all of those factors come together in my mind that works for me to simplify the stage. That's kind of what it's all about. break the stage down into manageable parts and see how those parts interact with each other as we transition from positions or props or anything like that. And that's kind of how I go about tackling the stage. So that's what I'm going to do. Like I said, there's a lot of choice on here. It's also going to depend on the wind of the day, whether or not we start prone, start up here, go for the far target, etc. It's going to start if you're going to do option 1, option 2A, or option 2B, how you change your strategy. So with all that being said, let me know what you're going to do down in the comments, because this, I think, has the most wiggle room and interpretation in terms of what strategy you can employ. So I'd love to hear what you guys are going to do down in the comments, and let's get set up for stage 5. All right, welcome back. Stage 5 to wrap up the November NRL22 Course of Fire strategy tips and tricks review. It's called Gobbler on the Gable 12-round stage. We've got a bank of targets, 100 yards, 2 and a 3-inch on double hanger. Stage description is as follows. On the start signal, engage the targets with 2 shots each, large then small, in the following order: left side of rooftop, right side of rooftop, and on the rooftop. All positions, the rifle is supported by the rooftop. On the last position, no part of your body nor equipment may touch the ground. So this is one of those stages, again, where there's a little bit open to interpretation. On the rooftop, I always like bag up front, pump pillow, rear support, 2 points of contact, more stable. First positions is the left side of the rooftop, then the right side of the rooftop. So, here, I don't have to be on the rooftop, so I can just actually take a kneeling position next to the rooftop. As a right-handed shooter, it's easy to come over the top on the right like this. On the left side of the rooftop, one strategy would be to walk around the rooftop, come over to the left side. So we're going to grab all our gear like this. I'm going to slide this over. I'm going to keep the rifle pointed down range. Put that down, put the rifle down, and do support side, which nobody likes, but as a right-handed shooter, it's difficult to get on this side of the rooftop. With your right eye, you're kind of in a super awkward position, but there's nothing to say that on the right side of the rooftop, you can't be on the rooftop. So, be on the rooftop like this. And you can even have one leg off the rooftop if that helps your stability. So I can just take a nice, easy, comfortable position here. And if I have center position, all I have to do is bring this leg up, make sure my entire body's on the rooftop, and we're good to go. So that's what I'm going to do. I don't think anyone really likes shooting support side, but that's an option. And if you're a left-handed shooter, might as well just start on the rooftop, all 3 positions, and just move the bag over. You could do that anyway. If you feel more stable having, an anchor leg off the rooftop, that would be the way to do it. But other than that, relatively straightforward. So if you're a left-handed shooter, you'd probably start on the rooftop, left side, probably come off the rooftop so that you can engage naturally left-handed off the side, get back on the rooftop for the middle. But other than that, relatively straightforward stage. Let's see what this might look like in practice. So I'm right-handed, but we start on the left side of the rooftop. All gear in hand. Timer goes beep. I'm gonna throw my wedge-shaped bag down, get that settled, rifle down, get that settled, 2 shots, large and then small. Here I'm gonna just take a kneeling position to the side of the rooftop, stand this pump pillow up for extra support. Find the targets, make sure my rifle is level. 1 shot, 2 shot, red shot, blue shot. So that's 4 shots there. And like I said, I'm just gonna get on the rooftop now. Slide this over to the right. Shimmy on over. If I want to put this leg down in this position, I'm allowed to. In the next position, I won't be allowed to. Get everything set up here. Same sequence. Large, large. Small, small. And then now we have to have our whole body on the rooftop. I'm gonna take that leg off, slide this whole thing over, center of the rooftop, set up my pump pillow, find a target, large, large. Small, small. So what was that? Like 75 seconds. Pretty straightforward stage. Again, just know what you're gonna do while you go into the stage. You know, do you want to be on the rooftop the majority of the time? Do you want to have a leg off? Is that going to get you more stable? Or are you going to be in that first position, or like me? Are you going to be completely kneeling and just using the rooftop as support? So yeah, other than that, another stage that's relatively straightforward, but leaves a lot of room for options and interpretation. Other than that, let me know what you're going to do down in the comments. Overall, I think this is a pretty good course of fire. A lot of variety, some props we've seen, obviously all the props we've seen before, but you know, used in pretty standard ways. So this would be a good match for a beginner. It's a good representation of what an NRL22 match should and could be. Other than that, not terribly difficult. Tank trap stage, weird target order, something to think about. But yeah, it's relatively straightforward. A couple things here and there that might trip you up. I think the big theme of this match is going to be analysis paralysis. You know, oh, I could do it this way. Oh, I could do the stage this way. Let me try that. Try and go into the stage, go into a match with a game plan. These courses are published in advance. I try to put these videos out in advance, so hopefully you start thinking about this stuff. I think this is one of those that you can easily get tripped up if you try and switch strategies mid-stage, you know, and it's just gonna usually ends up going poorly for people. So definitely come in with a game plan so that you can maximize your score. And until I see you next time, as always, score more points.